evening, and welcome to the June 17th Grafton Finance Committee public meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GLC 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Grafton Finance Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who'd like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by visiting the Zoom link found on the town website. I ask everyone please to mute themselves if you're not speaking. We'll need to take attendance to acknowledge everyone is here and can hear me and engage in the discussion, and we will have a roll call for all votes. Anybody who's an attendee who would like to comment or pose a question, you can use the QA feature. So Eric is not here. Dan, if you see something pop up in the Q&A, if you can just let me know, I'd appreciate it. All right, good. So first on our agenda, we have the State of the Town message. So just a little bit of background on the state of the town. Go ahead, Colleen.
Do you want to do attendance real quick?
Yes, I do. I miss that every time. Okay, and I'll let you start it off.
Roy, here.
Robin.
Fisher. All right, everybody just go, yeah.
Robin's here.
Q here.
Ed here.
Smith here.
Dan, you got to take yourself off mute.
Kusher here.
And Often is here. Sue Fiacca, did we get you?
I am here.
All right, good. Okay. All right, that looks like that's everybody. Very good. All right, so in terms of the state of the town, it didn't quite go like I had anticipated on, I guess it was Monday evening. I got an email from our town moderator indicating that because Mr. Prisby had not been allowed to deliver the state of the town message, that rule would apply to myself and Colleen as well. I did check into that. And so apparently candidates can't deliver committee reports. So what I did was I picked the next two people, which would be Irene and Eric, and I offered it up to them first to see if they wanted to sort of take what I had in draft form, make it into their own language as best as they could in a single day, present it to the committee, and hopefully we can agree on something tonight. What I had originally was very much based on what Sue Robbins had last year. I just changed the language, some of the numbers, and a little bit of the commentary to really talk about the contingency, budget and the override and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of capturing what was happening this year. So that happened. Go ahead, Dan.
I just don't understand where this rule comes from. And I don't see it applying across the board. I see it only applying to Finance Committee.
I'd agree with you.
When the town clerk was on the ballot, she was allowed to do everything that her normal role would entail. I don't understand why there's a special rule for Finance Committee.
That's an excellent question. So we're going to have a meeting with the town moderator tomorrow, and I'm happy to ask that question. It seemed a little bit arbitrary to me, and I really, but go ahead, Irene.
I agree. I do think the difference in terms of town clerk is that she is a paid employee, and it is in her contract and part of her day-to-day duties to do what she was doing. It just happens to be that she also has to run for her job, every so many years. So little bit different. I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I can see where that happened. I don't know how many other committees present reports. So that's all I have to say about that.
I mean, it's a committee report. Go ahead, Mark.
Those Jennifer Thomas and Donna Stock, they're not going to make any motions on the floor of town meeting this year.
That's a great question to, I think we need some clarification from the town moderator on that, but
I'm going to make a motion.
I didn't ask that question.
I'm going to make a motion. I move that the Finance Committee designate the chair of the Finance Committee to make the Finance Committee's report to town meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Discussion. We tried
Discussion,
that-
please.
We tried that 2 years ago.
Don't care. That's my
Cannot
motion.
We cannot overrule the moderator.
It wasn't
His
overruled.
decision.
I think it's
What happened when Ed did that a couple of years ago? What's his name? Don was leaving after 40 years on the finance committee. So Ed was gracious enough to allow him to make the last state of the town message.
And it wasn't because the moderator wasn't going to recognize him. The finance committee made that decision to have Dawn make it. So
Right,
my
but I-
motion stands. The
I was
moderator
under-
wants to rule it out of order, let him rule out of order. The finance
I was
committee,
under the impression that we were told if we did not do that, that is exactly what the moderator was going to do.
let him do it. Let him
Well,
embarrass
do
himself on the floor of
this.
town meeting.
I think it's bogus. Where does it say in the charter that if you're running for election, you can't give a state of the town message from finance committee? This
It
is
doesn't.
bogus.
it's a
It
totally
doesn't. All
made up rule.
It
And
is
I-
a made up rule. So let's, just one at a time, please. Go ahead, Dan.
I feel like if the chair of our committee is not allowed, it is not going to be recognized on town meeting floor to give the report for the committee. I think there shouldn't be a report. I think that should be that should be the consequence. That it's Ray's decision to not allow finance committee to make a report if that's how he wants to run his town meeting.
And if he doesn't, Dan, I am with you. I'm sorry, Matt, may I?
Yes, you may.
I'm with Dan 1,000,000%. If the moderator doesn't recognize you to make the report on behalf of the finance committee won't give a report. I'm tired of these politics. I'm tired of these games. I'm tired of all this stuff.
I-
It's a
just
purely
tired.
political decision.
Absolutely. I'm tired. My motion stands. Can we move the question?
If it's all right, I just want to have my say for a second. This wasn't really a battle that I was looking to take on, but I understand the committee's concern with this. Just so that everybody knows, I did make my feelings clear to Ray that I wasn't happy about it and really didn't understand it, but that ultimately it was his meeting to do with as he pleases. So I've said my piece. I'll take let's take a vote. So by roll call,
Robbins, aye.
McHugh, aye. Roy, aye.
Smith, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Had I. Excuse
Well,
me.
aye.
is that everybody?
Yep, it's you.
Often, aye. All right, the motion carries. Very good. All right, so that's that. Irene, I am sorry that I
No, don't be sorry.
gave you that document last minute. I think it was reasonably complete.
It was. The only thing I would say is I read it and it comes in at over 9 minutes. So I was going to suggest we try to shorten it. I was also going to recommend 3 slides, 2 of which I've completed.
Okay,
And we can talk about those. We can go either way. I don't care one way or the other, but I know people tend to like to have something to look at, and I assume we're going to have a big screen up. Am I correct?
we are going to have a big
um,
screen up. And Tim
right.
has asked us if we would have some slides. So I'm happy to do that. I just, because there's been so many changes in the budget and the numbers and everything, I couldn't finalize anything because we
My-
didn't have
yeah.
numbers.
And my slides don't need the budget numbers.
Okay.
I'll show you
very
what I
good.
came up with when it comes time, and you can use them, not use them, whatever. But I
Got it.
would recommend 3, and that is what they say should be the maximum.
Okay.
3 slides, 3 points each. I'm a little bit over that, but it's definitely 3 slides.
All right, I'd agree with that. Fine. Do you want to, go ahead, Sue Fiacco.
Are you still considering having printouts at the registration table of the state of the town message?
I like that approach. That allows us to give the full report to town meeting, and if I don't get a chance to present it, it's that we will have handed it to them, which is fine. If I'm gonna, well, I'm not gonna go there. So I think that's a good approach, and I think we can present a shorter version of it with the PowerPoint slides that will move along town meeting a little bit. It's going to be really hot, and I think there's going to be a certain level of agitation because of the heat and because of the format and all that stuff. So I do support Irene's idea of shortening it. So maybe what we do is we just have essentially an executive summary that gets delivered to town meeting. And if I don't get recognized to deliver that report, then it doesn't get delivered. Mr. Haddad.
You're not going to say in the report, please vote for me on June 23rd, are you?
It was a completely apolitical
Okay,
report
so
that
the-
was based on Sue's from last year.
Perfect. So then I don't see an issue here.
Neither do I.
Excellent.
I think a written message to the people as they come in, because they're going to be getting there early. It'll give them something to read.
I think that's great. So Barry,
Yeah, you want to put the slides on a flash drive just in case.
yep, that makes sense. Tim did ask for the slides in advance. So Irene, do you want to show those? And Irene, I'm sorry, Sue Fiacco, we need to talk about the logistics of getting this report printed. Looks like you're on mute, Irene.
Yes, the sooner the better. So that we can get them printed. I would imagine 400 copies will stay with what we did for the warrant articles.
That makes sense.
So we have to make sure that we can get 400 copies, kind of lickety split.
Okay.
So here's what I had come up with so far for slides. The first one was just a quick simplification of Prop 2.5 and structural deficit. And I just said, if there's no new growth and no change in property values, revenue cannot be increased by more than 2.5%. Again, simplification, okay, somewhat overstated. And then I go on to list that 80% of the school budget is salaries and the average annual increase is X. We need to figure out what that is. I would say maybe take it for the last 5 years. Some percentage of the municipal budget, which is somewhere probably between 70 and 80%, is salaries. What's been the average annual increase? And I just want to do it in total. You know, all school salaries, all municipal salaries, because I don't want to be pitting teachers against police, you know, against anybody else. And then the last one says X percentage of the annual budget is health insurance, and the average annual increase is whatever that's been for the last 5 years. Okay, so this makes it clear what we mean by a structural deficit. You're saying that you cannot increase revenues by more than 2.5%, but all of these things which make up the majority of your budget always increase by more than 2.5%. Simple. That's all. That's all. The second slide, Grafton at a glance. Now we can leave this one out, but since you brought up, you know, median or, you know, average single family price, median home price, compared that to the state, we're right in the middle. Okay. We're not super expensive. We're not real cheap. We are a bit of a bargain. Okay. Coming in at a medium home price of $390 versus the state's $395. Our tax rate is $16.50 per thousand. That places us as the 215th highest out of 344 towns. In theory, if we were right in the middle, we should be at about 170th. So maybe we're a little high, but hardly, you know, atmospheric. And then lastly, I put the household income. And this is the interesting part. And this is where, you know, Tim did not put it very well. But the fact is that the state uses this information in determining how much Chapter 78 to give us. Median household income in Grafton is $100,605. That puts us as the 86th highest out of almost 390 towns. The state median is 77,378. So that's all. And then the last one I wanted to do, these aren't necessarily in order. These would go wherever they fit within the presentation. I wanted to just talk about the town reserves, where they are, the fact that they're X percentage of the budget, and that in order to stay at 5% or more, it means we have to be adding to them. And if we do have to spend them for an emergency, which is what they're there for, they have to be replaced. You know, they're not there to just be, oh yeah, let's use that now and not worry about it. Anytime we're going to use them, the plan has to be there for getting it paid back. So that was going to be my third slide. Again, take them, leave them, people open to suggestions. And I was going to play with them and put some graphics because people like graphics. But that's where I was going.
Go ahead,
I have
Dan.
a question. If you go back to slide 2, so you have average single family, median home price. Is that also single family?
No, that's why I wrote it the way that I did, because a lot of the lower priced ones are condos, and those
Yep.
are usually not included in calculating average single family home prices.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and then that third one, compared to state, is
That's
that
the state medium home price.
okay? I think it would, just to be clear, I think if you could state that that's the median home price and not the average single family, just to make it clear what you're comparing it to.
Yep.
And can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Mark.
It says places us 86th highest out of 390 towns. There's only 351 towns in Massachusetts. What's the
Yeah,
390?
but the place that I took the data from was showing 390 locations listed.
Well,
so-
don't say towns because there's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts. That's very
So-
confusing. I'd clarify that, Irene.
Okay. I can either just say 351 and not worry about it because we're still number 86,
I like
no
that.
matter how you look at it. Okay, that would be the easiest thing to do. I'll just change it.
Got it.
Okay, so 351 you said, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna move something around.
And maybe just to match up their 215th, that will say 344. So just to be consistent, maybe have both.
Well, the only reason for that is they don't always have information for some places. I mean, I can do the same thing and change that, except that the place where I pulled the information from only listed 344.
So
Now, we
maybe
do-
write 344 reporting towns.
Yeah, that's good, reporting, yeah. Okay. Yeah, again, I just want to make sure that I'm being, correct in terms of if someone's going to go fact check this, which they're welcome to do, that I'm consistent.
Yep.
Nice job, Irene.
Yep. So the finance committee support this approach.
I move we support this approach.
Second.
Motion's been made. Do we really need a motion for that?
Why not?
All right. I'll any discussion? All right. By roll call.
Robin, aye.
Roy, I.
McHugh, aye.
Nick, aye.
Fool, aye.
Add, aye.
For sure, I.
Often I. All right. Motion carries. Very good. So, Irene, do you want to just sort of finish these up?
Yeah, I'll finish them up and I'll get them to
All
you
right.
tonight.
All right. That's great. So finance committee is going to support this. Do you want to bring up the Word document?
Hold on.
All right. So what we'll do then is, what we'll deliver at town meeting are the slides. Once I get those tonight, what I'll do is I'll just fill in basically the important parts from the longer document and relate those to these slides. I think this is a good approach. We can give people something to look at. It'll be much quicker and a little bit more digestible for people that are sitting out looking at a big jumbotron. People want to read the full budget book and they want to look at the full report. They'll have that in front of them. So
We basically need to cut this in half in terms of words. And
Right.
the other advantage to doing that is that it'll fit on one page, front and if we print on both sides.
sure, but we're not reading the whole document, right? Or is that the intention?
Well, that's up to you. In other words, what I said to you was the state of the town as you gave it to me,
Yep.
okay, would take 9 minutes to read. Now, if you still want to present this to people, here's the complete state of the town, but when we read it, say, the executive summary of the written state of the town message you got is, and we do maybe 4 paragraphs, 5, that's fine. I'm open to, well, it's you're giving it. I thought
Right.
that we were going to try and condense the whole thing. I wasn't thinking about the handout part. I was only thinking about the part that would be read.
Got it. Okay. I'll just take some committee input on that. I'm happy to cut it down. I would be happy with a document that's half the size of it is. It's long. It's really long.
I like the summary approach that you would give for the message at town meeting. Even if it's a long report, if it's factual and everything needs to be in there, then keep it long. They can read it.
Yep.
I don't have a problem. There's so much misinformation out there that
Right.
I think you can't give enough information sometimes, so.
Sure. So then so an approach that we could take is just not read the whole thing, but just pick parts of the report to read.
Right.
Highlights.
Yeah. Is everyone happy with that? Go ahead, Sufiako.
We have to be careful not to make it too long because it's going to be difficult at this late date to find somebody to do multiple pages of printing at 400 copies.
Okay. So is your recommendation to do 1 page?
Not if we can't get the information out there. This is an important message this year. I just hate to.
It is. How about we do a duplex and we keep it to 2 pages? Will that work, Sue?
I think it will, especially if we can do two-sided.
Oh, yeah, we have to do 2-sided.
Yep.
All right. So let's just keep it to 2 pages then.
And the 4th page, the back, the back of the 2nd page, we can put the slides.
I would say we should make the whole thing 2 pages, be able to
Right.
fit on a single page, right?
Oh,
So
I
no-
see. So you want it in small type.
I want it in small type and I want all the text to fit on the front and back of 1 sheet of paper. So we're not stapling, collating, all that kind of,
Right.
it's gotta be
Gotcha.
a 1 pager.
Okay, we can do that.
All right.
It's going to be small.
Narrow margins, make the margins spread out.
All of us went to school. All right, but we're gonna have to cut some content out too, I think.
Matt,
Irene-
I trust you doing it.
All right, well, so if it's all right with the committee, then I'll just take a motion to let Irene and I work on it together.
So
and-
moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor?
Robbins, aye.
McHugh,
Aye,
aye.
aye.
Full
Roy,
aye.
aye.
Smith, aye.
Aye.
Kusher, aye.
Off tonight. Motion carries. Okay. So that is the state of the town. Let's see. So we have our meeting schedule review. So let's see. Let me find that. Just hang on 1 second.
Oh, Matt, with margins and smaller font, I've almost got it to 1 page.
Fantastic. All right, that's exactly what we need.
I'll get rid of some verbiage as well.
Perfect. All right. If you want to, excuse me, stop
Stop
sharing.
Yep.
I
Sufiako
will
is
share.
raising her hand.
When you have a minute, Matt.
I do have a minute.
So the permission to work on the document was the motion in the second. So are we going to go through any of the content and vote actually on the document?
My motion is to have Matt and Irene finalize the report. Excuse me.
Okay,
That's what we voted.
So this is based on last year's report from Sue Robbins. I'm going to shorten it up a little bit. We'll do a couple of slides. to put up on screen, but essentially it is the same flavor and variety of content that, it's the typical bond rating, tax rate, median home values. There's some commentary about our structural deficit and the decision that voters are going to have when they go to the ballot, and the continued need for economic development.
Did you explain the contingency budget?
I didn't have the actual items in there, and I really didn't talk too much about the contingency budget, but I can.
Well, that's a whole separate.
That's
I
going to
think
come
that's a
up
whole-
during the
yeah,
meeting.
That's a whole separate issue, Matt. Your state of the town is on the balanced budget.
That's right.
There's contingent budget's a separate article, and obviously we're gonna have a discussion on that in a minute. So that's a whole different issue. I don't think that needs to be in the state of the town.
So I did articulate some of the cuts that had been made and the impacts on the school department, for example, that were made in the operational budget. So I did articulate those cuts that were made.
Okay. I just didn't want to ask you tomorrow night if we were having another vote.
Yeah, I'm not expecting another vote unless the committee feels like they want to finalize this. So we just took a vote to say we're trusting the chair and vice to just carry it forward. So that's what we're moving forward with.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Excellent, no worries. All right, let me share my screen here. So we've got, I think that's the one I want to show. Let me know when you can see that.
Got it.
All right, so we've tomorrow is 7 p.m. This is with our town moderator and presumably the select board. Is this TRICOM, Sue?
Not necessarily. The school committee sometimes attends, but not very often. The agenda of the select board, who is basically running the meeting, the joint meeting, does not have the school committee or school listed.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. So that's tomorrow at 7. We'll also talk through the contingent budget because there obviously are some discrepancies between what was proposed by the town administrator and what's been proposed by us. So we can talk about that a little bit after we go through this scheduled
Matt, the
discussion.
school committee is not posted for tomorrow night, so they won't be attending as a school committee.
Got it. Okay.
I thought, isn't tomorrow just them going over the warrants and assigning them?
Yeah, that's
think-
that's the typical one. I wasn't sure whether we had school committee in that or not.
They usually don't, but okay.
I was just wondering, since we were talking about the contingent budget, if the school committee would be involved. It seems like they should be, but I didn't call the meeting, so that's fine. All right, so we've got registration begins at 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. We have our finance committee public meeting at 8:30, so we can talk about the business that we want to have at that point a little in just a minute. We have our special town meeting at 9 and then our annual town meeting at 10. So finance
Point
committee,
of order? I think that's wrong. I think the town meeting starts at 9 and the special town meeting's at 9:30.
9:30. I think that's right. Yeah, that's what I read.
Oh my gosh, I apologize.
All right.
That will be changed, and it's everywhere else it's correct.
So I understand that finance committee is going to be in the first row of the kind of audience, and we're going to have our own microphone, which is good. And then we have a rain date, essentially same times on Sunday. Yeah, and then we have another meeting on the 24th, which is the day after the election. We will have some reserve fund transfer requests. So we're trying to get as many of those in as we can. As everybody can imagine, there's a lot of kind of year-end moves that are happening, and they're continuing to come through. So I'm not sure, I haven't seen all of them, but hopefully we'll have them all in hand at that point. Go ahead, Sue Fiacco.
So in that situation right now, it looks like Becca has them all listed under Article 1 of the special. in that there may be very little RFTs. But the one that is going to stay outstanding is Finance Committee needs a reserve fund
Right.
transfer.
There's another one that she alluded to. Both her and Tim identified that there was not an inconsequential one, I guess, that they were expecting, but they were asking for a little bit of flexibility on Finance Committee's part, just because of what's been happening. So I did indicate that we would have some flexibility to accept, a reserve fund transfer after our 24th meeting. So
So all those transfers are coming the 24th. Is that what you're saying, Matt?
there may be one or two after that.
All right.
Yep. So that's that. Any questions on this one? So what do we want to do? Let's see. Oh, so that's our meeting schedule. So next thing we had was,
Where do you want to meet that morning? Like, do we have a meeting spot?
that is a fine question.
Why don't we just meet where we're sitting?
Yeah, get registered and then meet in our spot.
Yeah, we can, if we're allowed, maybe we can put our chairs in a semicircle and just
Okay.
meet that way. We can
I
just
want to
social.
say that I went to Maynard's town meeting this past weekend, and they did it drive-in style in the parking lot of the old, digital building. Flawless. Flawless. We were
How does
done
a
in
drive-in
under-
work?
Everyone pulled in with their cars as if you were at a drive-in theater. So you came in, you registered, and then you got directed to a parking spot, and they staggered it. So let's say that, one row every other, spot, and then the next row was every other spot, but alternate from the ones in front. And then skip a row, and then a row of cars, then skip a row. They were done in under 2 hours. Now, they had nothing controversial. They didn't have an override or, anything really unexpected, but still they did 20 odd articles under 2 hours. Now, one of the things they did was they consolidated, and they had to vote on this right at the beginning of the meeting. They consolidated certain articles.
They did
So
a
that-
consent agenda.
Yeah, consent agenda, so that they would do one ballot for 5 articles. So,
Yep.
5 relatively easy things, one ballot. And they had guys, kids, they actually had kids doing this. I think it was scouts running around with baskets like in a Catholic church, collection baskets. And you put your ballot in the collection basket, and then they got taken somewhere and tabulated. Absolutely flawless execution. I was impressed, I got to tell you.
We did
Yeah, a lot of
ours.
things screwy there, but they did that well.
We did ours in Groton on Saturday. We did it outside. We had 313 attendees. We had 20 articles, and we finished the meeting in under an hour.
Wow.
Even more flawless than Maynard.
Yeah, even faster than mine.
Nice.
There's no reason why Grafton shouldn't go quick, other
Absolutely.
than a couple of articles, the budget, the contingent budget, and
Yeah,
isn't there like a super PAC, I think, on there?
yeah.
Couple citizen articles.
Yeah, some marijuana.
Oh, yeah, marijuana. I forgot about that. Thanks, Dan.
All right. So the next agenda item is review of our articles. Did everybody have a chance to read through all the recommendations for special and annual town meetings?
I think they're flawless, the quote I read.
I think they were pretty good. So anybody need any discussion on those other than, I think the big one probably are the operational contingent budgets. Great.
We need to reconsider any of our motions based on new information.
We're gonna need to reconsider the contingent budget.
Yeah.
The operating budget, I don't think we need to. I want to thank the town administrator and the school superintendent for getting together and removing that $190,000 and balancing out the budget. I watched the meeting the other night and I thought the school committee seemed to be in sync with that. So I support what we said in the budget motion under Article 5. I have concerns with Article 6. So when we're ready to talk about that, I'll be more than happy to address that.
All right, can I just, go ahead, Irene.
Hey, just quick before we do that, Article 1 on special town meeting. Had we not put a number on that? Are we good with it the way it is?
Go ahead, Sufiako.
There is, I have in my notes here, that is all transfer money. So even though there could be a dollar amount put on there, there isn't a need to do that, and there isn't a need to reconsider our vote.
Okay, that, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of. Okay, because that
All
one
right.
would have been easy if we had to. So now on to the one that's probably going to take some time.
All right,
Yeah.
but before we do that, I just wanted to bring up one other one, which are the articles that we are opposing passage of, which are the warrant articles for the equipment. I wanted to pose to the finance committee an idea. So we're opposing that language because essentially if the contingent budget and override pass, that money would be appropriated twice. I'd like to just ask if the committee's interested in offering an amendment at town meeting, which would essentially put some contingency language on those articles to say that in the case where the contingent budget and override pass, that the appropriations asked for in those articles would not go into effect essentially.
So moved.
Second,
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor by roll call.
Robbins, aye.
McHugh, aye.
Roy, aye.
Pool eye.
Add, aye.
Smith, aye.
For sure, aye.
Often aye. Motion carries. All right. I think that's a good way to do it, to show that, because what that would in effect do is it would free up that budget without a double appropriation at the beginning of the budget cycle. So in case they needed to purchase that equipment, or there's some advantage to getting that equipment before October town meeting, that it would essentially make that money available.
Makes perfect
so-
sense.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Let's talk about the contingency budget then. Let's just jump into to Article 6. So we got a memo. I don't know. What do you guys want to look at? Sue put this together. We could bring the memo up if you guys want to look at the memo together.
I
don't
have
think
to
we
be
need-
honest, I had trouble understanding the memo.
Matt, if I may, I have a whole thing I'm ready to do if you're ready to listen to me.
I'm ready to listen to you.
You can stop sharing the screen because none of that matters what's on there. I read the town administrator's memo in great detail. I am troubled and concerned with some of the things he has in there. He puts in here that this version of the contingent budget also calls to reinstate all proposed salary increases for staff above 2% to bring parity. Well, and then he goes, after he's done with the contingent budget, he goes, the requested funding for line items in the town administrator's contingent budget reflects the needed dollars in order to continue providing the services that Grafton residents have come to rely upon. That is in contradiction with the fact that he's giving raises. Giving those raises does not allow us to continue providing services. So the finance committee has been pretty clear in our previous votes that we're opposed raises above 2%. So I would like to propose to the finance committee the following contingent budget, have that the basis for our debate tonight, if you'll allow me.
Go for it.
So I move that the finance committee proposes a contingent budget to town meeting as follows. And Sue, I'll go slow to make sure you get all these numbers, and if I don't, please stop me. Restore the reserve fund at 25,000. Restore police equipment at 12,000. Restore fire expenses at 2,400. Restore fire equipment at 102,000. Restore highway salaries at 100,000. School restoration, $381,104. And then I want a salary restoration for the 2% for the non-union employees, $86,721. And then I watched the meeting last night, and the town administrator is still opposed to putting in those 2 fire captain positions. But I would rather put that money in the budget and have it there, just in case it's needed. So I'm gonna say the fire salaries at $210,000 for a total contingent budget of $919,225. That's my motion.
All right. Reserve fund 25K, police 12K, fire expense 2,400, fire equipment 102.
102, yep.
What was the 100? That was,
Highway
highway.
expenses. Yep.
School at 381, that is, the 267 plus the 114.
Yeah, that's because 267 plus the 114 that Jay cut out the other.
Yep, okay.
So it's actually
The
381, 104, Matt.
381, 104, yep.
Yep.
We had salary restoration of non-union folks at 86, 721, and then they 2 fire captains at 210.
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
For discussion purposes, I am so opposed to putting those salaries back into the budget that I think the finance committee needs to take a strong stand at town meeting and argue vociferously against that. And for the town administrator to put into a memorandum that it allows us to restore the services that our residents have come to appreciate is wrong. And when you're asking residents to raise their taxes, and I understand that this is higher than his contingent budget, and the only reason ours is higher is because we added $210,000 for the fire department. If you take out the $210,000 for the fire department, we're under what the town administrator is proposing. But I think the fire department is important. So I really think we need to take a stand against that 2%, above 2%.
Okay. Dan, go ahead.
Just to add to that, considering the economic situation with people being laid off, people, in private businesses not getting raises, it just seems out of touch to be giving raises beyond 2%, beyond that cost of living increase right now. So I completely agree.
Okay. Any other commentary?
Yeah, I would. Oh, sorry, Sue. You can go.
And go ahead.
Sue's hand up. Sue's hand was up first. Go ahead, Sue.
I just want to agree with Mark with the 2 fire positions because I was reading over the report, and for the past 2 years, over the years with the fire department, there are always 3 issues that came up. One was retention, one was training, and one was my mind just got lost. But anyway, they needed fire inspections, and for the past 2 years, the 2 major issues were training and fire inspections. And if he's going to hire a fire chief, they need a fire inspector because they're way behind on inspections. And the fire department has complained about that for the past 2 years, and they've only had a part-time person doing that after he's retired. So I totally agree that those positions need to be put back in. So the money is there, because if he hires a fire chief, what's he going to use for a budget?
Sure. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and then just to follow up on what Sue's saying, if it gets to the fall town meeting and they can't hire before they set the tax rate, we can reduce, if the override passes, we can reduce the appropriation. So we're not raising money we don't need, but at least it's in there. At least it's ready to go for the fire department, because I have a real hard time understanding why it's going to take 36 years to hire 3 people.
No kidding. I
Sure.
agree.
Yeah, I just don't understand what the new chief can't start hiring until the salaries are approved. Like, how is a chief supposed to start hiring for this role, these roles, before the money's actually been approved for them? I just really don't understand the reasoning behind this.
Sure. Did you have some commentary, Colleen?
Yeah. How would you guys feel about if we did for the fire personnel for just half a year. If we cut it in half, still for the 2 positions, but just to fund for 6 months, that does kind of take into consideration the fact that they probably won't be working for the full year. Still gives the fire chief that budget, still gives him that idea that, and then following year, it'll be twice as much. But that also reduces our ask this year. And my only other question was the Nelson Park Library. When we said that they were going to have to shrink that $190,000, we assured them that we would put that back into the contingency budget, and that was not in this motion. So is that something we should be amending and putting back in as well?
Not part of my motion. If you're asking for a friendly amendment to reduce the 210 to 105 and add back in the 25,000 for Nelson, are you asking me to make that as a friendly amendment?
I would like you to make a friendly amendment, please. Yes.
I accept your friendly amendment.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Matt, we would change the fire salaries to 105.
Yep.
That would knock the number down to 814, 225. And then we add back in 25,000 for Nelson. So that's 225, 93. So that's 839, 225. So Sue, do you want me to give you those numbers again? Sue Fiacco?
I believe I have them.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll accept Colleen's friendly amendment to my motion. So it's 839,225, adding back in the Nelson 25,000 and the 105 for the fire salaries.
I will second that.
Was that a motion?
And it's a friendly
It's an
amendment.
amendment.
Yes,
I'm changing my motion, Matt, to Colleen asked for a friendly amendment. So I'm changing my original motion to those numbers to 839, 225, and
Got it.
Sue is seconding that. So
Which is
Sue Robbins
remarkably
seconded
close to what the original contingent budget was. I think it was 832.
Yep.
Dan,
I think that's a great idea, Colleen. I think that because that also perfectly addresses the concern I just had, because the money's appropriated. So, you know, the new chief wouldn't be able to hire immediately, but he could begin the hiring process for a start date, you know, on or after January 2nd, and know that that money is appropriated. So that my concern's gone with that plan. So thanks.
got it.
You beat
All right.
me to it, Colleen.
So I just want to make some commentary. I'd like to see a more collaborative approach, I guess, to this contingent budget. I would like to go to town meeting with a unified contingent budget. I agree in principle with everything that we're putting here. I am very much opposed to the salaries above 2%. I think that's a terrible idea. I definitely support that additional budget for the fire positions, 100%. I think we can negotiate through this tomorrow. And my concern is that if we have voted for this, and we end up with something that is very slightly different, but very similar to this tomorrow night, we go to town meeting, and I just want to walk that through, how that works. I'd like to see an approach where we have that discussion tomorrow and try to bang through those differences.
So Matt, I understand and I agree, because I was going to suggest, if we pass this motion, I was going to ask you to give it to the town administrator immediately so that we can, you know, have his input and then talk about it tomorrow night's meeting at 7 o'clock. I do want to be in concert with him. I don't want to get up on the floor of town meeting and get into an argument. So I support that. But the differences are the restoration and the MIS money. Those are the two different, well, and then the fire. So there's 3 differences between the 2 numbers, correct?
Yes.
If I'm looking at his number. So I'm willing to have that conversation tomorrow night, but I want to go in there tomorrow with the finance committee saying, this is what we want to support. We do not support raises above 2% under any stretch of the imagination, and we're not going to support the economic development director. I'm not in favor of putting that position back in the budget. That's why I didn't include it in the contingent budget. So those are the 4 differences. Raises above 2%, the economic development director, the MIS money, and the fire department. Those are the 4 differences. So I
Yeah.
think if you have that conversation or you give that to Tim, hopefully he'll take that into consideration coming into the meeting tomorrow night. And, if we have to add something back in, I think that's fine. We can have that discussion, but I really want to go in with what we have here.
Yeah, that's okay. I guess, the other thing that we can do is we can reconsider this motion on Saturday morning, because we've got a half an hour.
Yep.
We can
So
also
if we end-
reconsider it tomorrow night,
We could also can we do that?
Yeah,
because
why
we're going to
not?
be in session.
Okay,
Posted
Right.
meeting.
Yeah.
So Sue, you know what I would ask you to do? There's no prohibition in the open meeting law from adjusting an agenda prior to the meeting, as long as it's a posted meeting. The town clerk can amend the posted agenda. So I would ask Matt, with your permission, that we add to our agenda tomorrow night, contingent budget discussion. And that will allow us, if we need to reconsider.
yeah, I'd like to do that. That's fine. I think that's a good approach, Mark. I'll support that.
Very
Any additional discussion? So do we need to vote? Go ahead, Sue.
I just wanted to know how likely is it that he's going to cave in to putting those two positions in? I don't think he's going to.
I wouldn't say cave in. I wouldn't use that term. I would say, what's the likelihood of him agreeing with us?
Well,
Right.
I would say, based on his comments last night to the select board, I would say nil, but I think we should have that discussion.
His
Well,
big
I-
concern is though that we can't hire. So we're meeting him halfway and we're saying, okay, it is gonna take you maybe a few months to hire a chief, but when he hits the ground, we want him to have the budget that he needs to be able to immediately advertise for those positions and have the budget in hand to be able to fill those. Because look, this fire chief, he might have some guys that come with him. It's not uncommon that people bring staff with them from town to town or from company to company or whatever. So it's possible.
I agree with you, Matt. I mean, why not give him the arrows in his quiver? Why say no? I mean, if you
Right.
get to the fall town meeting and it's not gonna work, then you reduce that budget by 105 and you don't raise it on the recap sheet. It's not that difficult.
And Matt,
Absolutely.
the response that you gave is exactly the correct response. It was
Okay. Thanks. All right, so go ahead, Colleen.
The only other thing I would add is that we call the positions the right positions. I think, like they
I
pointed
said
out. we were
fire
calling-
captain.
Okay, you did? All right.
I did, because that's what the town administrator said last night. And in his memo, he called us out for referring to them as deputy chief. So
How much
I'm
is
sorry.
how much is the MIS money?
2,000. 2,000.
2,000.
I also want to add that I'm going to disagree with you on not putting the economic coordinator in. Given the strong desire of the town to try and get more economic development and to help our existing businesses, stay viable and paying taxes, I would like to keep that position.
Let me ask you this, Irene, you're on the, if I may, Matt, I'm sorry.
Of course.
You're on the, you're our
EDC.
representative.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. We've spent $60,000 or $72,000 in the last 3 years on that position. Has he generated $72,000 worth of commercial growth in the last 2 years?
Well, that depends on how you view his participation in 8 Pine Street, which isn't going to close, until sometime in the coming year. And he was very involved in the presentations for the soon-to-be available DPW site. So there is a long lag time. It just comes with this type of position. And it's not the type of thing, and I'm willing to go to bat for this because I worked in marketing, which is somewhat similar. It's very hard to draw a straight line from A to B. But if you want to take a look at other towns that are succeeding with economic development, okay, they are typically doing so with somebody in a position of that type. Now, I don't want to go as far as Westboro. I don't think we necessarily need full-time We don't have anywhere near the amount of commercial property, so there isn't as much to do. You know, we have a somewhat more limited stock to work with. But I do feel that having somebody dedicated to it is important. And if you look at what they're doing over there, it is not just about getting, you know, new things. It is also about helping the existing businesses stay viable and paying taxes, because empty storefronts don't help anybody.
I'm not in favor of that position. I don't think it's done anything for us. I think 8 Pine Street would have happened without him, and we would have to market the old highway garage, whether or not we had an economic development director.
Right, but it
So
might
I just
take
don't think it's
longer
doing
and might
anything.
not be done as well.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I agree with Irene. Go ahead, Sue.
When you read what he sent out on his memo about the economic development coordinator and all of the things he said about what he's done and everything else, it kind of surprises me that if this position is this important and this valuable to him, he should have put it in the operating budget.
I agree.
It's low-hanging fruit.
Oh.
I think it's low hanging fruit. There's also, I feel like there,
In the memo that it's low hanging fruit.
right. Well, I think it's a tough thing. It's like the fire and police equipment, right? It's the type of thing that it's difficult to not fund. So it's a bit of a budget gadget. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, but I mean, the fire and police equipment, the idea is to fund it anyway, just whether or not it's operating money from the override or one-time money without the override, he's still planning to pay for it. With
Sure.
the economic development coordinator, the plan is to cut it if the override fails. So I agree. It seems odd that it's described as being so critical, and yet it's one of the things we can do without if the override fails.
Yeah, I take that commentary. I just feel like it's not in keeping with, you know, part of our state of the town message says that we really need to continue focusing on economic development. And for me, like, I think that's a key position. It is a long game. It's not something that I don't know how to measure it, but I feel like if we have somebody in that position and they can be directed in the right way, that we can set some goals, that it can be something that can be measured, and but that needs to be part of that role, is actually continual justification of it. I feel like we could get that way with John. I don't think that has been the way that he's been managed so far, but to me, that's not the fact that we don't have enough evidence to really demonstrate the value at this point in time, because it hasn't been gathered. Just for me personally, isn't a reason to not fund the position. Go ahead, Dan.
I agree with that. I just don't see any indication that evidence will be gathered. I don't see any indication that anybody wants to gather it.
I can bring that up at an EDC meeting and say, okay, guys, we need to, as part of our charge, as part of what we're doing as the EDC, we need to start doing this. And in the same way that the school committee gives an evaluation of the superintendent and the select board evaluates the town administrator, who's evaluating the EDC coordinator? Is it Tim? Is it he was originally on the planning board budget? Was he reporting to the town planner? Or is it us? Does the EDC have to say, you know what, we've kind of missed the boat on this. We should be doing a job performance on whoever's in that role. So it could be a question of EDC needs to step up and if they want the position bad enough, and I think most people on the EDC do, then it's become our responsibility to justify it. And I can't believe that the light bulb's going off now. I've been on EDC for what, 1.5 years, right? So now the light bulb's going off.
Irene, make a motion to amend our contingent budget and see what happens.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the contingent budget in the amount of $39,000 even?
It's 30,000, I think.
Amount of $30,000
It's
to
thirty
add
Go ahead,
thousand,
Colleen.
it's 30,915.
$30,915 to restore the Economic Development Coordinator position.
Do I have a second for the friendly amendment?
Second,
All right, I have a motion and second. Will you accept that, Mark?
Let's vote on it.
All right, by roll call.
Because that number is different than the other contingency budget he's been giving. The
The
other, like,
contingent
so I
budget
have,
says 3915. The budget, in the memo he gave
What
us
he
today,
said
the number's
this morning.
3915.
but in the past it was 3593. I don't know if it matters. He's
That's the number in his
given-
contingent budget.
Well, this is his contingent budget too. He's
Correct.
given us multiple, so I'm going off of multiple
Let's
numbers.
go
that
with
he's
the,
given
let's
us.
go with his latest contingent budget, which was
Okay.
given to us this morning, 3915.
Thank you. All right, by roll call.
Robbins, nay.
All aye.
Roy, nay.
McHugh, nay.
Haddad, nay.
Smith, aye.
Sure, nay.
Oh, jeez.
Bob deny.
Okay.
All right, so that's out.
Okay, motion fails. I tried.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Good. So now, go ahead, Colleen.
I will add though that tomorrow I would be open to reconsidering this and amending it and adding back in if that's going to bring Tim to the table and accept the rest of our contingency budget. If that's the deal breaker for the town administrator to say, you know what, I will accept your contingency budget on this condition that I get my MIS and my economic coordinator back, I think I would probably be in support of that tomorrow, just to get us all onto one contingency budget.
Got it. Yeah, same here. And I think, I guess just one last point on that for me. I think the small businesses in town are gonna need a lot of help over the next year. Trying to put back together something that resembles business as usual for their businesses and their customers. And I think that EDC position could potentially take a significant role in facilitating that work. So go ahead, Barry.
This is really for Mark. Are professional real estate companies, do they get involved in this level of promoting an area or locations for
I
business
know,
development?
yeah, I know that I have worked very closely with local realtors. When I had a project in Groton, I was trying to push a sewer project and to do some economic development. And I reached out to the realtors in the area and they helped me market that area. So, and it was successful. As a matter of fact, we brought in 2 new businesses in the last 2 months. Even through the pandemic, we brought in 2 businesses. So
Nice.
I think, yeah, that is the role of the, that is the role. You can use local realtors to help you with that.
Yeah, now we did try to do that with the Fisherville Mills site, but I guess that never really panned out.
That's a tough site though.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is.
That's what that was.
pretty. It's got water.
All right.
Yeah, it does.
So have we voted? Sorry, I'm a little bit disorganized. We've got to vote on the friendly
Yeah,
amended motion that Mark had on the table.
839,225. That's the motion.
839, 225. Any additional discussion on that? All right, all in favor by roll call.
Robbins, aye.
McHugh, aye.
Roy, aye.
All aye.
Haddad, aye.
Smith, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Off and aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you. That was great. That's exactly what I think we need. So Sue Fiacco, you have all those numbers. Can you send me that line item budget and I will send that along to Tim?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, great. I'll get that off to him tonight. Well, we can talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, I think that puts us in a good, strong position going into the discussion tomorrow. So thank you for that. All right. What else do we have? So that
We
was
have
good.
some bills.
Yeah, we got some bills, but before we get to the bills, we need to talk about the Finance Committee budget. And Sue Fiacco, I would like for you, I'll just give you the floor and
Thank
I'll
you.
let you lead this discussion.
Yeah, It's not going to come out the way it should come out, but it's going to come out. Okay, so everyone, I have just relocated to upstate New York.
What?
as of Last week.
That's a long commute, Sue.
It is a long commute. Yes.
Are you leaving us?
Pardon me?
Sounds like it.
So, because of the climate of all of our discussions, I knew that this was happening in May. We closed on the house just a little bit ago, and my husband and I moved this past weekend. The climate of all of the discussions have been hectic, and I could not fairly add this to the mix. It just didn't seem right. So I apologize for the late announcement. What I've done is I have checked with Joan Chase, who is our HR person, to see if there are any rules against me working remotely from New York State, and there are not. So that's good. And what I'm hoping, I did talk to Matt about it the other day, and what I would like to propose is that you folks have me stay on over the summer and hopefully get someone else on board, and I'll help to mentor that person and be out of your hair by public hearing time, which would be towards the end of September.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Very reluctant.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did moving go?
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? I'll just say, Sue, I don't want you to go. I don't think anybody on this committee wants you out of our hair. I cannot express to the committee the tremendous amount of assistance and just deep, valuable knowledge that you've given me. Just the mentorship and all of the work this year has just been tremendous.
Been a
So
confusing year. I second that, Matt. Sue, you're
yeah.
off.
Oh my
I
God.
third that.
Thank you,
so
all of you.
so much for hanging with us.
Does the motion on the floor include accepting Sue's resignation? Because I might vote against that.
No, I don't think it does.
It doesn't.
I'm
It just
technically
allows Sue to
retired.
continue on. It allows Sue to continue on remotely.
Oh, well,
through
I
the summer.
definitely
That's the
support
motion.
that.
That's
Thank
the
you.
motion.
I have some significant concerns with the transition, the knowledge transfer. I'm extremely thankful that Sue put together the kind of run book of all the tasks that she does. I think that's an excellent starting place for that handover process. But Sue's been doing this for so many decades. I have some significant concerns about that handover. So I'm fully in support of as long a transition as we can have, really, to allow whoever's going to fill those big shoes to kind of come up to speed. So
I can't believe you kept up with all of this and moved. I am in awe. I'm in absolute awe.
I
can't
agree,
either.
Irene.
You know, it's been quite busy, but it's really been intense, and I just didn't feel that this was necessary to be discussing after the very long discussions that these meetings had brought forward. It's really, but I needed to tell you, and I am concerned because I told Matt, and now I'm telling you folks, and I don't even know how to approach the town administrator on this. I don't know how he'll react to this. He may just, I don't even know how this will work. I don't know if it's your, I hope it's your call for me to stay through the summer, but I will accept whatever needs to be accepted at this point.
I can't see anybody having a problem. I mean, everything is done remotely. You could be in Hawaii on vacation and you can
I've
still
been in
support
Hawaii
us.
on vacation, Mark,
There you go. So
with this
I can't-
laptop.
okay, I can't see a reason why anybody would object to you staying on and helping us. I mean, what Irene said is just absolutely 100% correct. You moved and you kept up with all these meetings. I'm in awe. I think that's awesome. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank
Not only
you.
has Sue kept up with us with the move, but I was absolutely impressed and awestruck when she was in the hospital and managed to
God, yeah.
through.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that too.
She had major surgery, and yet she kept us all informed and up to date and on schedule, and she was remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really love this job. I know this sounds silly, but thank you.
Well, that's because we're awesome, Sue. That's why you feel that way.
I thank you. So what Matt and I had also discussed for the FY20 budget is that I am out of hours. The transfer request, Matt, has not come through yet. But right now I'm about 20 hours out. And by the time we get through town meeting, it'll be about 20 more. So I
So
requested.
we're
for
short 40 hours?
Yes, comes to
Yes.
$828.
So
I
the,
move
so the
we-
plan the plan there is to do a reserve fund transfer to make sure that she's made whole on those hours. And we want to make sure that we have that full allotment of hours for next year for the transition. And likely we'll have additional hours, which we'll need another reserve fund transfer for because we'll have that overlap time frame.
Yep.
So I think it's important to do that RFT this year to make her whole for this year, and then we'll do the next one.
What's the amount?
It's and Sue, I did it is 828.
I move that we
828.
approve a reserve fund transfer to finance committee personnel in the amount of $828.
Second,
Do we have two motions on the floor though, Mark?
Oh, we do. I'm sorry. I'm just moving left and right too. So we should,
That's all
we
right.
should vote to accept her working with us first, and then I'll make the next motion after that.
Thank you.
Let's do that. Any additional discussion on the additional time?
So,
All right.
Matt,
Yes.
excuse me, just keep in mind that the minutes are not complete for this spring.
Okay,
And I likely won't have them done. I'll just have a few hours left.
got
Let
it.
me ask you a question. Are you willing to do the minutes? If
Yes.
we give you 50 hours or 60 hours?
I don't think I'll have them done by June 30th.
No, that's all right. We can encumber the money. How many hours do you need?
Well, I would have to carry it over,
Oh,
Mark,
that's true. You would have to go into the
to
next.
July
fiscal-
1.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. How many more hours in this fiscal year in the next 13 days do you think you'll need? We've already talked about 40 hours. How many more hours would you need to do the minutes? How many more hours are you willing to put in between now and June 30 to do those minutes?
I won't be able to get them done.
Okay, never mind then. We'll deal
Yeah,
with that
there's
next
too
fiscal
many.
year.
All
Thank
right.
you though, Mark, very much.
Yep.
All right, any additional discussion on that? Okay, all in favor by roll call.
Well,
Bye.
QI.
Roy, I.
bye.
Kusher, aye.
Off the aye. Motion carries. Okay,
Alright, so
now
then
I'll take your
move
motion.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve a reserve fund transfer to finance committee personnel in the amount of $828.
Second.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Blah, blah, blah. All in favor?
Well, I.
QI.
Roy, I.
Ed,
Kusher,
aye.
aye.
Off the aye. Motion carries. Okay. Excellent.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you, Sue.
Yeah, Sue,
I'll be at the town meeting.
so give us your address so we can go visit you.
Oh, I would love to have you come visit. I'm right near the lake,
Where are you? In what part? What town?
Saratoga Springs, New York.
Oh,
That's nice.
that's a great area. I don't blame you for moving.
Man,
Sue,
Yeah.
Sue, do you want to deliver the state of the town?
Love to. No.
Come on.
You put on Matt, maybe we should have put on the agenda for the 24th or maybe sometime after to discuss how we're going to go about replacing Sue.
I think that's a great idea. We've got to put together a job description. Yeah,
How, because her position was unique.
absolutely.
Superwoman.
Yeah,
Superwoman for not such super pay.
Yeah.
employee of the town like everybody else is. So her position was very unique. So we need to have the discussion about how we're going to go about doing this.
I'd agree with that. So let's talk about that on the 24th. So if you want to add that to the agenda, I think that makes perfect sense. All right, now we were on to outstanding bills.
Move to
let's-
approve the bills as presented.
Second,
So-
Second,
Well, yeah, okay, so we have Gatehouse, which is. Let me just bring it up. That is $189. And we have a Staples bill for $483.20. And then we have printing cartridges of $115.99. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Now,
No,
where's
Sue?
yours, Matt? Where's your, and then your Zoom ones?
Oh,
124, I believe.
is this May, June?
Oh, May, June is internet?
All right, May, June is internet, and that is Verizon and Spectrum. That's $42. I'm sorry, Sue, I don't have the one for Zoom. Where's that? Oh, okay, Zoom is $124.97. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Robbins, aye.
McHugh,
well, I,
Smith,
Roy,
aye.
I.
Aye.
Kusher, aye.
Off the night, motion carries. All right, I think that's all we had for this evening. Thank you all so much. That great meeting.
Move to adjourn?
Second,
Second, Robbins, aye.
well, I.
McHugh,
Roy, I.
Aye.
Smith, aye.
Kusher, aye.
Off tonight. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good night.